Untitled Bud game for my game badge. There are greenies you can collect. There's robots that are cleaning the hallways. You got to avoid those. And there's the first thing that I have to knock down are these chandeliers. Oh yeah, that's fun. See, now you can live vicariously through the life of your cat and enjoy it when you're knocking things over. I still have an X on Bud's butt. That's for just testing purposes. So there's one of the chandeliers. And then there's a greenie. The greenies actually use a different type of hitbox. They use a small hitbox. So since Bud is smaller than the chandelier, we want to see if Bud is inside the chandelier. But since the greenie is smaller than Bud, we want to see if the greenie is inside of Bud. Bud, who is scratching my chair right now. Bud is a super needy cat. He is so needy to the point where he's absolutely driven insanely mad when he hears me talking to myself, like right now. Alright, so these should... Yeah, there we go. See, Bud, it's a video game about how destructive you are. Okay, let's spawn a robot. Got him! So yeah, you're going to have to avoid robots and then you probably push up to go in the door. And I thought it might be kind of funny to animate Bud's butt as he walks through the door, kind of like, you know, like Rolling Thunder or Sunset Riders. There's still a few flaky things with this. Like, I don't know why. Like, sometimes when you run across these bureaus here, he doesn't drop down. But then sometimes he does, like that. I don't know why. Well, it probably has something to do with the direction he's facing. Because see how his XY position is considered to be on his paws, but when you turn this way, it's on his butt. So, there. And then when he goes, see how when he goes that way, it's right on his hind feet, and then when he goes this way, it's in the middle of him. That's probably more inconsistent than it should be. Oh, this is just so you can jump above the robot at the end. I don't know, I might add like some paintings on the wall, but each one of these objects, it's a vertical strip like that, as I said. So it draws the floor tile, the baseboard trim, then it draws like 1/4 of the dresser, and then it draws a bunch of blank space above it. I was thinking, like, when I get to the interior apartment section of this, like I could have 2 strips per line, so it would draw up a certain ways and then draw down a certain ways. That would still save memory, because basically for each one of these, it's storing... I want to say it's 1 word, so it's 16 bits. So it's storing 2 bytes instead of, what would it be, 15 bytes for the whole thing? A Pi Pico is infinitely more powerful and more RAM than a Nintendo, but I'm still kind of trying to program it in the old school way, just because it's kind of fun. Maybe this will be my gateway drug into like actually programming a NES game someday. Oh, no, I'll probably never get that done.
Let's take a look at how I did the tiles for the Bud video game for the GameBadge. Now, the idea is you're in these yuppie condos. And originally I was just going to have Bud walking around knocking things over, but then I realized that makes him the villain, even though that's what he does in real life. So I thought, oh, well, let's have evil robots in there. Oh, well, the evil robots are always in there, but then again I realized, oh, if Bud is knocking things over, he's the bad guy. So I'm like, okay, Bud can't just go around destroying things in a condo. So I was like, okay, the robots are evil, and there's kittens inside. So he has to rescue kittens. So that makes it okay. So this is using Nintendo rules. Well, I'm a Gen Xer. When I say Nintendo, I mean the NES. So it has 4 palettes for tiles, represented by these. 4 palettes, 4 colors each. And I'm cheating on the Nintendo. The bottom color of each palette has to be the same background color. And this one I'm cheating a little bit, although it basically follows the same rules. And there's also 4 palettes for the sprites. Although, again, cheating, you can also use the tile palettes for the sprites. But all the condo stuff is done with this kind of like this golden palette, this reddish one, this bluish one, this monochrome one. So we have like a Peloton here. Oh, I'm sorry. Compare with a Peloton. And there's like a couch. You know, all these tiles. And this is using the same tile size as a Nintendo. So it's 16 by 16 tiles, or 256 characters to choose from. So I use this program, YYCHR, but then I realized even though I have an in-game editor, it was way too slow and I probably wasn't going to get it done in time. So I downloaded this program called Tiled. Sounds like a cool name, but it's actually not a very good name for SEO. I like the Pico. It's like pi, okay, it's a number. Pico, it means very small. Or Pico, whatever. I always say Pico, I don't know why. Oh, I'm going to search for tiled. Well, okay, this can be like how to redo my kitchen floor. All right, so I talked about the 4 palettes, right? So what I did in tiled was I created 5 tile layers. There's platform. This refers to what Bud can step on or is blocked by. And then there's 1 tile set per pattern. Because tiled, well, I mean, there probably is a way to do like palette associations for the tile sets, but I had to get this done quickly. So I took a bitmap out of that other program and I made 4 tile sets, which are just the 4 different colors. Now, tile doesn't really care what color these pixels are. All it's going to do is it's going to assign a numeric value to each tile. So this one's like 255. Then I also have a palette for the sheet, so to speak, as they would say in games, which is just an extra block. So in the map here, so each condo that you go into is 120 tiles across by 15 tiles tall, because the screen is 15 by 15. So everything that's the monochromatic tile, I draw that first. And then you can bring in the other layers. Here's the blue one. I don't use it very often. Here's the reddish one. So I've got some chairs and I've got some cabinets. And this probably wouldn't actually happen in real life. The cabinets don't match, but it's a video game. Here's some nice recliners. And tile is pretty cool. Like you can go over here and you can select, like let's say this pellet, right? So I'll go to condo, the black and white condo tile, and I can go like that. And then just drag it over, drop it in. And of course you can, do copy and paste and repeats and all sorts of cool stuff. Then there's palette 0, which is the golden palette. That's pretty much just used for the door. Now you don't have to draw in the door number. I actually automatically do that in the game. Like 2nd floor, condo 6, for instance. And the platform, this just uses the tiles, 2 tiles from here, the X or the arrow down. This indicates what blocks Bud. What are you doing? Come on. That indicates where he can stand and what blocks him. And the door is left open, so if Bud's position is -0 in the world and you've rescued all the kittens, then you exit the condo and it closes and then you go to the next condo. And there's 6 condos per level with a hub, level, hallway level. So you can do them in whatever order you want. Yeah, and then, so I just copy paste these. So this is the last one I have to work on is floor 6. Right now, it's just a duplicate of floor 2, I want to say. But I'm going to make this one pretty crazy. Oh, and then I've got a buffer here, right? Store the excess stuff. You can use this for object placement, such as the robots and whatnot. I've basically just been doing that in the in-game editor, just because that's less work for me to have to do in tiled. But yeah, I mean, I did this in like a couple hours. I got this to work together. I got it to work pretty quickly. When you have your files the way you want it, you go to export as condo 6.1, and I'm going to go export as CSV, comma separated values for all you file name geeks out there in the audience. Kind of a file name geek. What does JPEG stand for? Put your answer below, or MPEG, or TIFF, or PSD. Oh, everyone knows what PSD stands for. XML, that one's pretty easy. So we have all these TMX files. These are actually the tile files as they are in tiled. I don't have like a world map or a project. I'm just doing it, by each condo. So we get these 4 CSV files. You can this is just going to be one of the palettes. So this is palette 0, which has the door. -1 means no tile, and then here are the corresponding tiles for the door. So you can see like where the mail slot is, where the doorknob is, and then there's nothing else in the file because there's no other things that use that color. Fill up number 3. This is the black and white stuff. So you can see 32, which is a space, and then you see the black and white stuff. Yeah, now CSV takes up a lot of space because it's ASCII. And also, you'd have to parse it. I mean, parsing it with a Pico probably wouldn't be that bad, but I just made another program to cheat because otherwise you had to like mix everything. So here we are in Visual Studio. I made a form application, load CSV. and it's very professional, as you can see. So what happens is up here, you click on the load, and you only have to click on the first CSV. Actually, you can click on any of the CSV files. So what it's going to do is it's going to use string splits right here. Again, not the most efficient code, but it works. I did this in like 2 hours, and it's going to rip off. It's going to take all of the stuff out of the file name and the path, and just leave you with condo61 underscore. Actually, no, just condo61. So it loads. It basically creates a paths for all these things. So you can see you get the file name for the file dialog box. Then you get path, which is everything up to the file name. Then it strips apart the file name down to just condo name, and then for each one of these boxes, it appends, pal, blah 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 blah, and platform. So when we run it, actually, let's hit run here. So we're going to load CSV. Just pick one of them. So this is our full path. Condo56 is the folder. Then here are the 5 files it's going to import. We hit export map. Again, this is really inefficient. I just did everything in line. This convert CSV. I actually used Chat GPT to make this, just to make it nice and quick. This convert CSV thing. I basically said, "Hey, Chat GPT, make me a function." That's what I always do. I say, "Make me a function." Then you just plop it in. A function that converts a CSV file to a 2-dimensional array. And that's exactly what it did. One thing I like about ChatGPT is even if you mostly know how to do all of it, it sometimes can help you with some of like the nomenclature, like the little bit, just to make sure that it works. Although in the end, you see it's pretty simple. It's just a nested for loop for the 2 arrays. You can see it's also doing its own splitting of the strings that it imports, although they come in as lines. When you go to export it, this is where the real magic happens. So there's two arrays I have. There's what you load in from the file, and then there's what you're exporting. Now what you're exporting, that's actually what goes into the map file that goes into the GameBadge. That's what you'll copy over to the Pico, Potato. Let's call the whole thing off. So when you hit export, it's going to do each file at a time. And it's actually going to start with the third one, which is the black and white one. That's because this one is the base layer, and it's more likely to contain all the 32 spaces. So if it doesn't see something there, it'll fill it with a 32 just in case you miss something here. Because let's say I'm here, like these are all 32s. Like if I actually selected it and hit delete, see now that's actually not tiles. That'd be a -1. Why did I eat that barbecue sandwich for dinner? If the current map, which is what we just loaded off the CSV, if it does not equal -1, then it's going to copy over the value. Now, from the previous videos, which you probably don't remember, each tile is a word, 16 bits. And the top 2 most bits, the MSB, the 2 MSBs, that's the blocked bit and the platform bit. That refers to, this stuff, or these arrows. And then the lower 3 bits of the second nibble, or the LSB of the high byte, is the pallet number. In this case, it's 3. That refers to 0, 1, 2, 3 there. So it's going to populate that. However, if it sees a -1, it's going to say, okay, well, let's just put a space in its place. So that puts in 20 hex, which is 32, which is ASCII space. And then it also makes it white. So then it just goes, kind of recursively. Now it goes back to palette 0, which refers to this palette. So basically it goes through them one at a time. And then it does OR operations. So it says, okay, if there's nothing in the current map, then we make it equal this. Well, again, by current map, I mean the one we just loaded. So if let's say you had something in condo here, and let's say you took here, let me just do an example. Let's just grab one of these palette 1 things. If I put this here, okay, so the system would load in the countertop, but then it would then load this on top of it. So this would take priority because that's the way it renders. So it doesn't see this hierarchy here. This hierarchy actually is important because it shows you what's visible or not. I also have platform. You can make platform make it slightly opaque. I guess slightly opaque would mean transparent. Yeah, so I'm basically doing pal3, then dun, 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 and then I add platform. So then it does palette 1 and 2, Now you see, since we've already changed it, populated tile in this layer, it will actually ore in the palette. So actually, oh, that actually could be an error, because if there wasn't some, oh, never mind, it already took care of that. Lob off, and yeah, see. So let's say the palette was set by like one of the black and white tiles. So see how it says export map? Again, that's what's going to be exported to the GameBadge. Export map end equals FF. That means the upper 2 bits will be shaved off. So that means if it's, palette 1, it ores it in. But like, let's say this already had a 2 in it. If you ored in a 1, then it would become a 3. You don't want that. That's why we do this bit mask for it. I like the fact that you can still program in C# on Windows, and you can still do bitwise operations, old school. Then we add in palette 2. And finally, we look at the platform text. Oh, and see, we're recreating the file. So we have the path, which is the full system path, including the folder. Then we have our escape / or backslash, I'm sorry. Then we have the name and then .csv. So here we're basically just going to look for characters 44 or 46, which refers to this or this. That's the only thing it's going to look at. Otherwise, it's going to ignore it. If it sees one of those, it ores in either the top bit or the second to top bit, or most significant bit. And then it exports to my AI file, my AI function. So instead of having those 5 separate files, it just creates one binary file, not ASCII file, a binary file, which is what we load into the GameBadge. Now the levels in the GameBadge, they also have data in them for the objects, such as the robots and the greenies. So down here, this was created by the ChatGPT, but then I added some stuff. See how I've got writer, new binary writer stream? If you just use writer write, it's going to write something that's based off of the actual data structure. So if it's an int 16, it's going to write an int 16, which is 2 bytes. If it's a long, it's going to, or if you don't define it as anything, if you define it as like an int, it's probably going to be a 32-bit long. Yeah, and see, that's important because the way I did it on GameBadge, I did everything in big endian because that's how I roll. I don't know why. Now, it's not big Indian like the East India Trading Company. It's big endian, ENDIN. And that is a reference to Gulliver's Travels. Yes, you're getting all the lore here. Here's HXD. It's my favorite hex editor. So here's a resulting map file. Now this one has object data attached to it, which starts at E10, I want to say. Oh, actually, no. This is a direct export from the C# file. So yeah. So see down here, this is the floor, for instance, because it's going to go from left to right and then from top to bottom with the rows. So endianness. That's a word. Endianness refers to the order in which byte structures are stored in memory or on disk. Most systems are little endian. It's actually a very important thing. So let's say I have the number, let's go hex. Let's go hex BEEF, beef, okay? It's a totally valid hex number. Okay, so this is the high byte, and that is the low byte. So I'm on this little endian Intel computer here. So if I just export this without specifying the byte order, so the C# program is going to try to output 16 bits, and everything is in bytes on your disk. Everything is in bytes. So what it would do normally is it would send out EF and then BE. So it's little end first. Oh yeah, so back to Gulliver's Travels. There's a chapter in which there's the big endians and the little endians, and it's a political parable about how politics don't matter or how it's all the same. And the two warring factions, their major beef is which end of a hard-boiled egg you should crack first, the big end or the little end, and that's the parable. Little endian means data is stored with the lowest byte first. Big endian means it's stored with the largest byte first. That's really important because if you're going from a little endian to a big endian system, then you've got a problem. So, like say, we've got 435B. So, in this case, I've had to actually program it to send out, because when I did how I saved the data on the flash file system on the Pico, I did big endian, because for some reason that makes more sense in my brain. So with this, I actually have to take the array and I have to cast it into 2 bytes. So see how I split it up? So I take the big endian, I take the big end, I bit shift it to the right and and it with FF. So here I take the 16-bit value, I shift it 8 to the right and then I OR it with FF. That gives me 1 byte big end. Then I take it and then I AND it with FF, which gives me the little end. So then I send the high end first, big end, big endian, and then I send the little endian second. Yeah. So what that just basically boils down to is, yeah, so this is actually 435B. That's the 16-bit value. And if this was stored little endian, these two would be reversed. That's really all there is to it. And I'm sure the Pico is also little endian. Most things are little endian, but that's just something I had to do because of the way I chose to do it. So it sends all the tiles. 128 is the end of tile flag. Number of objects is 0, and then the end of file flag is 255. Now what my code does on the GameBadge is it looks for however many tiles. Depends on if it's a condo or the hub hallway, that's more tiles. Then it says, okay, how many objects are there in this map? And this one, there's just 0. And then you'd have all your object data here in the file. So you'd load that for however many objects there were. And then you'd look for end of file. So this will load into the program, or this will load into the Pico, and there'll be, oh, there's no objects. And then you add the objects, and then when you resave the file on the Pico file system, it will put all of the object data here. So this C# program, C#, I looked for seashells on the seashore. This program is pretty, I just made it just to work with the Bud game, but it'll get the job done. So I'll include this in the GitHub, but it's not really useful for anything outside of this particular game. But if you want to make your own levels, you can. So there you go. I've just got one more floor left to go. I've got to do the 6th floor. So I'm going to create these. Probably going to do that later tonight. And then, like a good nighttime, bedtime thing is I can just lie in bed or go to the bar and populate all the objects in these maps. So I've got all these resulting folders, and each one has the CSVs and the map file that's exported. So I just do search for .map, use the incredibly slow Windows search. Yeah, look at the Threadripper go. You just select all of these, copy paste them. You go into the USB device, which is the Pico, and here's the structure of the game. Like, you got the audio there, which takes up most of the memory. And then levels, and then you just copy paste this map data over here, and then you can load it up in the game. And there is Condo 10. That's actually the hallway. I thought about having a different hallway per level, although I think that's kind of pointless because it's just a hub. It's not really that important. But I also do have Condo 19 map, and I'm actually using that to draw the cutscenes at the start of the game. So the cutscenes are just, here's one window, that's the first frame, then the second frame, telling the story of the game. So that's pretty much how it works. So I guess we should probably look at the level editor on the device itself now.
Bud, do you approve of this game I made about you? Are you going to sign off on the licensing deal?
Okay, we've got the Bud game here. I'm trying to film it as best I can since we have to actually film it off the LCD. So this is the title screen. You can go into USB mode, which turns off the DMA to the LCD, which makes it a little more clean to transfer USB files over. You don't have to do that, but sometimes you'll see glitches on the screen if you don't. Just hit start to unpause it. So start runs the game, obviously. I've got a dev level select in here for now. Load is me testing my opening cinematic. I want to show you edit. The first thing I want to show you is edit. So let's go into edit. So it's going to populate a blank condo. What is that? Oh, it's got a moire pattern on the screen. Look at that. Maybe I need to be a little closer. Oh, it's because there's a blank background, probably. All right, so
I showed you how I created the backgrounds in Tiled. I mean, you can do it here. Like, okay, so here's how the controls work if you want to make your own level. So you got your A, B, C buttons, start and select. So there's 3 modes. There's tile type. This is like if it's a platform or free space. There's object place. This is sprites and background objects you can knock over. And there's tile place. So if I hold down B, then see how there's a cursor showing me all the tiles? So this is a 16 by 16, 256 tiles. So if I want to draw a chair, I grab that one, boom, hold B, up, right, click, hold B, right, release B, click, down, and then let's see, over there. So this is how I was doing it originally, and it just takes too long. That's why I use tiled. But having the editor in game, I'm still, oh, I missed. I'm using this for the sprites, and there you go, there's a chair. And I have a menu here, so you can do copy, paste, and load the room. So I can go copy, upper left, lower right, then I can go start, paste, slot 0, and there's the chair again. Wow, and then you go left and right, so there's up to 4 slots to store things in. Each copy buffer is the size of 1 screen, so keep your copies within 1 screen. So undo, I didn't do that yet, so maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. So change the floor, this is the key thing. So you go left and right to select the floor and the condo. So there's 6 floors to the condo building and 6 condos per floor and a mewing cat. I'm going to use that sound effect in the game. Do it again. There we go. Okay, so, oh wait, actually no, I was working on 5, I believe. The last one I did was 5.4? Okay, let's try loading that. Okay, yeah, this one looks populated. What? You haven't been down here in a while, have you? Neither have I. It's kind of cold down here. Like your soul. Your cold kitten heart. I'm going to warm your kitten heart with a cool, icy island song. Okay. 5, let's try 5, 6. Okay, this one's unpopulated. So this is just the raw tiled data, tiled being the program. Of course, I want to double check that all the arrows are in place for the platforms. And then I think I still have to go through and do the 6th floor. Yeah, there's no objects in this either. Now obviously as you get to the higher floors, I want there to be more robots. So let's go 5, 6 is the last one, the last unpopulated one. So the tile type should all be in place, the tile should be in place, so we want objects. So same thing, I'm going to hold down the B button, that gets us our hot menu. And left and right is going to change the object in the category, and up and down is the different categories. So we've got bad art, kitchen stuff. Oh, bad art is 4 by 2 tiles, kitchen stuff is 2 by 2 tiles, tall stuff is 2 by 3 tiles, appliance is 3 by 2, and the robots are variable. So I usually start with the kittens, so I'm going to hold this down, and then kittens are gameplay objects. We've got these robots, plus a kitten, plus a greenie. So as you're holding B, you can slide your finger over and push C, and that will change the palette for each of the objects. Then if you hold or tap A, you'll make the object look left or right. So let's get a little gray kitten, put him up there. Now see how it's moving in 8 by 8 chunks? You can hit select and go into fine control mode, then drop it and then go back into coarse select mode. So I usually put, so you get 3 hit bars, and I put like 3 to 4 to 5 greenies per level. But this is one of the higher levels, so I'm probably going to have 3 greenies because I want it to be difficult. Alright, so let's go back to kittens. Find a kitten color that doesn't seem too unrealistic. There we go. So let's put some kittens under this table. Maybe put a kitten up here, flip them that way. The kittens don't move, they just sit there and say help. The robots do move. So the direction in which the robot is facing when you draw them indicates the position they will start moving in when they are spawned, either left or right. Yeah, let's put them over there. And let's put one in the chair here, then we'll put a robot in the back of the chair to make it a little bit more dangerous.
Now, originally, the robots, you could just defeat them by knocking something onto them, like a microwave or a glass. That was a little too easy, so one of the things I'm doing in the last week here is changing it so you have to knock something on the robots to stun them, and then you also have to go down and swat them with your paws. So it's kind of like, you know, Bubble Bobble or something. Bubble Bobble, every woman's favorite game. I don't know why. All right, let's get a few more kittens, because this is the final stage, so gotta have a lot of kittens. So when the game is, or when the level is loaded, it will count the kittens, and then it will say, oh, you know, you have to rescue however many kittens, and then that controls whether or not you can exit the level. Yeah, let's put a greenie. Okay, so right here, like I can't go directly in between those supports, so I can do a fine control, drop it, unfine, boom, just like that. And clunk. All right, that's probably enough kittens. Okay, so let's get some evil robots. Oh, actually, no, let's do some bad art. So we've got all those like Hobby Lobby art, like Simplify and Home and crap like that. So let's, here. So the artwork, you don't have to bat it. If Bud jumps through it, it will fall onto a robot, because usually the art's like suspended in midair, so it's more of like something you leap into. Actually, we don't have a ton of room for art. Actually, we could put, if I put artwork here, and then I can make it so it's going to hit a robot that's up by the kitten. I don't want another one that says Simplify. Let's do, oh, here we go, Wine. There we go. Very wine mommy. Okay, so next I usually do the robots. Now, that tiled program I showed you, you can do objects in tiled. I don't know. It would be a whole another thing to set up. It's easier just to do it here. I mean, if I had started with tiled in my workflow. Okay, so I hold that, hold B, tap A, facing left. One click is where he starts. Next click is his left sentry position. Right click is his right sentry position. Now, it uses the robot's width when he turns around, so you don't have to... The right sentry position doesn't have to be like that. You actually put the cursor at the edge of where the robot will stop. Okay, and then let's get one of these like skinny or thin Roomba robots. Let's get him dark blue. He kind of matched. Nah, he looks too close to that platform. There we go. I was watching the movie Nope while I was designing these last few stages of levels. So now whenever I look at this, I'll think of that movie. It was a pretty decent movie. Let's see. Nope, 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 nope. That guy there, and he's going to stay on the table. Right there. So one of the reasons I have these tall robots is so they can kind of get in your way if you go onto a table. So you have to, you know, it's more difficult to dodge them. It's more difficult to dodge something that's large. Wow. Amazing insight here on benheckhacks.com.org. All right, so we got these chairs here. So actually, I'm going to use another tall guy here. So let's give him a sentry on these chairs. And these chairs aren't very wide, so I don't think I can really fit a robot on them. So obviously, I want the robots to look, the colors to be different if they're near each other, and also different to the objects. So I don't want to put a beige robot in front of these beige chairs. That would be lame. I was trying to think of a Deep Space Nine joke there that would involve Bejor, but I couldn't stick the landing. I always thought the Bejor stuff on Deep Space Nine was dumb. It's like this science fiction show, and everything on Bejor was about like religions and cults and prophecies, and then what's his face, Gul Dukat got turned into he got burned alive or something. Wait, no, didn't he survive that? I can't remember. Oh yeah, the boxy robot. Yeah, green's kind of hard to see. Actually, that's kind of an ironic thing to say, given evolution and everything. And this is the second to last stage, so I do want to make it not too easy. And then the last stage, or floor 6, is going to be just lousy with robots. So one thing I do is I'll actually maybe kind of randomize their sentry endpoints, so they maybe don't turn around exactly where you think they will. Now all the robots do is go back and forth, all at the same speed, 1 pixel per frame. So it's pretty predictable. But another thing I've been doing is I've been reducing the number of objects you can drop on them per level, just so it gets harder as you go along. Which is what I should do next, actually. So let's go to kitchen. This is what I usually use for the drop stuff. This is 2x2 objects. So like, let's get like a transparent bowl, and I'm gonna put that up here. So this bowl, this bowl can't be used on that robot, but it could maybe be used on these, but you gotta wait for it to line up. So the only way to get that robot is to hit him with the wine sign. You're only gonna have one shot at it. It'll be just like Beggar's Canyon back home. Let's put a record player on this table for no reason whatsoever. Let's see, laptop. Make it a different color so I don't look too lazy. You'll still look kind of lazy. I'd kick your butt if I wasn't so lazy. But you are lazy, right? Oh, don't get me started. Happy little plant. And then here we can, let's go up here and find a little coffee cup and put that by this stool to kind of tell a little story. There we go. So some objects don't look very good unless you have the right palette, like this coffee machine here. So gotta find a black and white. The sprites can use 8 different palettes, and then the tiles can just use the first floor. So it's kind of like Nintendo. It's closer to Sega Master System. Let's get let's put a microwave right next to this kitten. Oh, I guess that's a pizza oven. Well, whatever. Then let's put a few dishes. Not a whole lot, just a few, because as I said, this is a later level. Let's put a bottle of, make it black so it's wine. A bottle of wine up there. Bottle of red, bottle of white. Whatever kind of mood you're in tonight. Get a table down the street in our old familiar place. You and I, face to face. Ooh. Let's jump ahead. Things been good with me these days. I got a new wife, got a new office, got a new life. Blah, blah, blah. No, here, let's put a teapot on there. There we go. Or what do they call that in England? A kettle. But here we call it a pot. I went down to Chicago for a bachelor party in July, and that city already smells like Portland. I mean, I don't mind the smell, but it's so obvious. You know, I think it's weird. Maybe there's a little too much inside baseball, but I am kind of shocked, like, how many people smoke while driving. Like, I will quite often, like, be at a stoplight and I'll smell it the next car over. And it's like, Jiminy Christmas, you want to get pulled over? Whatever. Like, you know, that's not just like the thing like, oh, I have the smell of alcohol coming off of them. It's like, you can smell it through the car. You can smell the car away at a stoplight. So I'm trying to make the objects make sense. So, like, okay, I'll put a glass at the edge of this chair, and you can knock that onto this robot, I guess. And then up here, we'll put like one of those stupid ball things that people have in their bathroom. What's with that anyway? It's like, oh, it's a basket of balls. What does this accomplish? Absolutely nothing, which is what you are about to become, Lone Star. Yogurt the Wise. Yogurt the Magnificent. Please, please, I'm just plain yogurt. All right, this seems pretty decent. So let's do this. We're gonna go start. Oh, actually, let me go over the controls one more time. So B basically brings up, you have to hold B. B brings up the options. So I go left and right to pick these things, to pick items within a category, up and down for a category. Oh, this allows you to erase stuff. You just click on it and it erases the object. Test animate. If I push this left or right, it'll make everything animate. I might remove this actually, because the thing is, when they animate, then their positions will change, and then when you save it, it'll be in those new positions. What else was there? So gameplay is robots, kittens, greenies. Bad art, hang on the wall. Bud just has to pass through it to make it fall down. He doesn't have to swat it. Kitchen is 2x2 objects, 2x3 objects, 3x2, and erase. Okay. And then tapping the C button, tile placement. So, oh, here's my tiles. Tap C, there's your 4 different fonts. And if you want to get a space, it's up here, you know, where it belongs. See how I've got some character graphics on, like, the plus sign and ampersand and whatnot, but I left space open. So then, yeah, you can go through your 4 palettes there. Oh, and notice like when the cursor's on a different spot of the screen, that selection will spawn opposite it, just so you have as much space as possible. And then tile type. Actually, let's double check. So X's mean you can't go through it like a wall. Then this arrow points to where the platform is. So like on the Peloton there. Oh, I'm sorry. Compare this bike to a Peloton. It's a Peloton type bike. There's a stool. So like if I wanted to erase the stool, I could just get free platform or free move and put it back just like that. Most of this I should have gotten correct and tiled. Oh, and then the door, you leave that open. So if you try to leave, well, I'll show you the message. You can't, even though it's open, it won't let you leave until you've rescued all the kittens. And if you die, you'll respawn there as well. So I'm going to hit start. And I'm going to make sure 5, 6, correct. Save the file. Cool, so that's 5 out of 6 floors I have done. So let's go exit to menu. All right, so this is just for temporary, but because right now if I hit start, I'm just going to go right into it, level 5. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now evil robots. This is the hallway hub, so there's one of these per level, obviously. And okay, got him. Once you kill, I'm sorry, not kill all the robots. Once you clear all the condos, the elevator opens up for the next floor. So go up there. Okay, so here's the level we just populated. So we're gonna get the kittens. Now, I'm gonna make this more difficult because when I get this done, I'm gonna make it so you have to swat an object onto the robot, then go down there and swat the robot in a certain amount of time because. So you have to do like that because like just hitting them over the head with things is a little too easy, and unless you like completely fill up the screen with robots, which would be a kind of a stupid way to make it difficult. So that's actually the original code that I did. You could swat the robots. You could like make them go backwards, but that's also too easy. So I mean, I want this to be like a game that, because you know kids will sign up for the workshop, so I wanted something that was like cute and not violent. And also not too difficult, but at the same time, I don't want it to be too easy. Because there's going to be like, what? Nope, I missed him. So that robot will live forever. All right. I did not take a hit. I did not get hit by the robot. I did not. Oh, hi, robot. Oh, here's what happens if Bud dies. Kitten jail. All right, that seems pretty reasonable. Let me just cheat my way out. All right, so that condo's been cleared. And now once you clear all 6, it opens up the next level. Then it gives you your scoring report for the floor of the condo, and then you're on to the next floor. Yeah, so I've got 1 week to finish this. I've got 1 week to finish this game. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so I've got to fix some bugs with some collision detection, make these robots in this hub hallway thing a little bit more dynamic. Have to populate all the objects for level 6. Make annoying sounds. Make annoying sounds. Mew. Make a mew sound. That was a good one.
So the final thing we had to do was add some music, and we had to do it in the quickest way possible. So Ken, who was one of the people in last year's workshop, by that I mean 2022, he's been helping me with some stuff with this year's workshop, and he's also going to help run the workshop. And I'm talking about this in the future tense, even though it happened like 4 months ago. Anyway, he found this on GitHub, Pretendo. It runs on the old Arduino Uno, but this will actually run tracker files from an 8-bit game system, and it will play them using a little microcontroller. So he ported this over to the Raspberry Pi Pico, and now we can play some 8-bit chip tunes.